Mr. Dehaney, I understand we have a couple items to discuss today.
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. The first item will be a briefing from our Economic Development Director, Emily Archer. She's going to brief City Council on the results from the Virginia Beach National RFP. Emily, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. Thank you for having me. As the Mayor just mentioned, we'll provide an overview of the golf course, a little bit of the history, the background. We'll review the RFP process to date, examine the selected proposal for Virginia Beach National Golf Course, review the purchase terms negotiated, and seek your direction on next steps. The clubhouse of the golf course is pictured on the screen on the right. Currently, the city owns the land. It's leased to the Virginia Beach Development Authority, VBDA, and has a management agreement with the operator Virginia Beach Golf Club, LLC, for operations. The current operator's term expires at the end of this year. Just for orientation, this is located at 2500 Tournament Drive off of Princess Anne Road. It's about, everything in yellow is 350 acres. It's used as an 18-hole, 7,432-yard course designed by golf architect Pete Dye for both tournament play and public play. It also contains the YMCA in green on the image on the upper left, 50 acres of the YMCA's first tee 9-hole youth golf course. In February, you all heard this item to be transferred to the YMCA and directed that we move forward with that transfer. That subdivision process is underway and the transfer is pending at this time. It's zoned ag, and it's in Council District 2. You can see the assessed value at $4.8 million and the market value estimate at $6.5 million. The red box on the right-hand side of the image is about 42 acres, I wanted to point out, that are outside of the ITA and APZ noise regulations. Some bit of the history and the background of the course. The city originally leased this property to the Virginia Beach Development Authority in 1997 for the development of a tournament players club, TPC. The city of Virginia Beach then went on to purchase the course from TPC for about $4.6 million in 2006. VBDA and Virginia Beach Golf Corp, LLC, the current operator, entered into a management agreement in 2007. That is the one I mentioned that expires at the end of this year. In October of 2023, an audit was completed for the golf course and detailed numerous items of disrepair, including stormwater facilities and inspections that were giving serious integrated ratings. The clubhouse had rotting eaves and fascia board along the roof line. There was mold in the restaurant and the rotted baseboards, deteriorated ceiling caused by leaks, and a non-functioning HVAC unit in the kitchen that had not been working for quite some time. Following that audit, the VBDA conducted comprehensive facility condition assessments of both the course and the building facilities and identified about $7.7 million in capital repairs that were needed. VBDA appropriated about $1.8 million of Innovation Park land sales that they had available to address some of the capital maintenance needs. Since that time, they've invested in a new HVAC system for the clubhouse, a whole new roof, and about Lake One was recently completed for improvement to help the overflow of the drainage from the golf course. It is the outfall for the drainage system of the golf course. And long story short, you can see kind of a comparison of the two aerials from 2005 to 2025 on the screen. Although it was designed by a preeminent golf course architect, it's not what it once was. You can see where the sand traps or the waste areas are overgrown now. Erosion is destabilizing the lake banks. Cart paths are deteriorating. The overall golf course has been diluted, lessening the challenge for players and reducing the overall golf experience. It is a popular golf course still, and it is generating revenue. This is a financial summary showing the current revenue coming in from the golf course to the city. So there's currently the operations agreement has a profit sharing of the net income of $100,000 per year, and then there's operation payments that's split between the city and VBDA at 5%. You can kind of see the average annual over this 18-year period on the top row of this table. The total operation and taxes remitted annually averaged over that 18-year period about $217,000 per year. But for capital maintenance needs, only that 15% that comes to VBDA is appropriated for capital maintenance, as VBDA is responsible for everything over $5,000 at the course. And the red numbers that you see show that VBD's portion of the capital maintenance receipts is not adequate for the current level of maintenance needed. The audit also attracted attention from the development community, and the city received unsolicited proposals from several entities. So following the mounting capital expenditures and the unsolicited proposals received, in September of 2025, City Council authorized the release of an RFP for sale of the golf course, retaining an 18-hole public course. It was widely advertised for 45 days. We received 9 responses in November 2025. 5 of those responses had new golf course operations, and 4 of those responses had new golf course operations with the housing component with them. We shortlisted 4 of the respondents, 2 with a housing component and 2 with just new golf course operations, and went through our series of interviews between January and February 2026. And then in February 2026, City Council authorized the negotiation of a term sheet with the top-ranking respondent. That is the Dragus companies. You can see the disclosures on the screen. They have a 58-year track record of building amenitized golf communities, enduring quality here in Virginia Beach for 58 years. You may know them, but they have also had this proposal really rose to the top, not only because of the greatest fiscal impact that you'll hear about, but the team credentials and experience. Century Golf Partners is on the team to manage the golf course. They manage 62 golf courses, including PGA West and Walt Disney's World Golf Course in Florida. And then Timothy Liddy and Associates on the right has redesigned over 53 golf courses, including 3 Pete Dye original golf courses. Timothy Liddy was actually a protege of Pete Dye and worked with him for almost 3 decades. Before I go into the specifics, we kind of wanted to summarize the bullet points up front for you. For the proposal, it maintains Virginia Beach as a public course, restoring the course to this world-class status, increasing sports tourism opportunities. A public course will remain, and no changes could be made to the use of the course without City Council action. The project provides a positive real estate, tax benefits to the city, and provides additional diverse housing types at mixed incomes, and achieves a key city priority. The master plan is kind of shown to the right. A vastly improved public golf course will be provided. An estimated $38 million is going to be invested in the golf course. World-class operations by Century Golf Management, as I mentioned, and that redesign will retain the style of Pete Dye by his protege, Timothy Liddy. There's a 99-year repurchase option retained by the city should the use of this course ever change. In the southern area, outside of off of Nema Parkway, at the very southern bottom image on the right, there's 659 mixed for-sale housing units with over half at or below 120% area median income. There's a little orange dot on the right off of Tournament Drive. That's a new childcare facility that's proposed to serve this area of the city. F in the green area to the left of the image are woodlands and environmental preservation areas that exist today and will not be disturbed. That's 45 acres. And then I mentioned the positive fiscal impact. An estimated $3.4 million in new annual taxes are estimated to be generated by this proposal. Not listed up there, but there are a lot of new lakes and ponds being proposed, approximately 16.5 acres of them. The new ponds will address the stormwater deficiencies identified in the audits and are oversized almost 40% more of the new net impervious area to address the city's strict stormwater standards. A little bit more about the golf course renovations. The image on the right shows that there will be existing holes retained, including the front 9 and the signature 18th hole in the navy blue colors. And the orange colors are 8 new or modified golf holes, including a relocation onto adjacent city-owned land, an 45-acre expansion to accommodate the golf course redesign. As we mentioned, this will be a redesign by Timothy Liddy. There will be no impact to first tee, and no homes will be located on the fairways or greens. This is a little bit about the projected pricing of the golf course. There will be a robust loyalty card program to keep golf affordable and locals engaged proposed. Unlike now, Virginia Beach residents will pay no initiation fees or annual dues. Currently, for membership of the course, membership's about $4,000 annually, and then there's a $3,375 initiation fee. That will be zero under this new proposal. And Virginia, non-Virginia, and Players Club card offerings, there's a little chart on the right that describes that. There are non-membership rates. You don't have to be a member to play at the course. Those will start about $69 in season and $49 off season. Currently, non-member rates are $99 in season and $67 off season. A little bit more about the proposed housing types. They're not single-family homes proposed, but they're not all multifamily either. There's that missing middle that it's needed in the market, from everything from garden flats to townhomes, terrace homes, and golf verandas. This does meet the housing types and diversity and attainability goals outlined for the courthouse area in the comprehensive plan. I mentioned before that we anticipate over half of them to be under 120% AMI. The developer owns the nearby Guilford at Spence Crossing community up Princess Anne Road, and feel like this is totally achievable because more than 90% of those homeowners earn at or below 100% AMI. The diagram, the chart on the right, shows the developer's current residential occupations. You'll notice professional services, military, healthcare. This is workforce housing. The residential proposal will require conditional rezoning through Planning Commission and City Council, and is a contingent upon them closing and executing this proposal. They're experienced with that rezoning process and prepared to undertake that during their due diligence period. This is kind of showing the timeline for the improvements in the estimated tax projections. As I mentioned, there's $3.4 million in estimated real estate taxes to be generated once stabilized or once it's up and operating fully. This kind of shows that FY29, you can see some of that first the construction completed and being built. There's a teal line at the bottom, though, that shows if the city were to invest in $7.7 million needed in the golf course now, it would take a lot longer to make up that in taxes based on what the golf course is currently bringing into the city. A little bit more about the purchase terms proposed. The developer is to purchase the property for $17.9 million. Those funds plus VBD's contribution of $1.8 million will be utilized for golf course improvements in addition to $18.4 million in private investment. That's that $38 million that's going to be invested into the golf course. The 99-year repurchase option I mentioned specifically will be subject to a one-time market rate repurchase should the golf course cease being used for a public course for a period more than 2 years. Additionally, in the term sheet, the city has the right to enter and maintain the course if it's closed for more than 6 months at any time, other than for renovations. The city contribution is estimated as being requested at $4.3 million. There are needed roadway and turn lanes, tournament drive improvements, utility relocation, and a sewer line to make the project feasible. There are various unknowns at this time, such as related to stormwater and subsurface conditions and traffic impact, and for that reason, a contingency is being requested with an upfront risk being shared between the city and the developer, with the developer's contribution at $10.2 million and city's capped for contingency at $3.6 million. Should these overages occur, it's up to, if they need them, future realized but-for taxes would be provided in the form of a performance grant for the taxes that are generated by the development, not to exceed that $10.2 million cap. So the cap city investment in this table on the top right is $7.9 million. That's the 4.3 for the public infrastructure and the 3.6 for the contingency cap. You can see the reimbursement grant, that's the $10.2 million for the future but for taxes. That's a cumulative fiscal impact over 20 years of $43.2 million and net present value at $18 million. It is a healthy, positive rate of return for the city. And a little bit about the time the rate of return recuperation on the public investment. Should all those contingency ended up being needed in the worst case scenario, it's estimated that we would recoup that investment between 2032 and 2037, assuming an 8-year construction period, that's under 10 years. Due to additional private investment and new but-for revenue, the city's estimated to recover in a longer period of time, should they make those improvements, that $7.7 million by themselves to the golf course. It would take almost 20 years to recoup that investment. So for your consideration today, accepting the terms proposed, proceeding to a public hearing, and proposed sale of the property. There's some potential dates up there. We can maintain the status quo with a new operator come next year. We did issue a short-term RFP in the spring of 2026 for, we have 3 viable proposals that are ready to step in and operate the golf course no matter what come next January. And deferred the capital maintenance until funds become available or other as directed. And we know this will generate some discussion. There is a Virginia Beach National Golf Club Hot Topics page established on our website for more information and a QR code that would take you there. Thank you.
Hey, Rosemary.
As stewards of the taxpayers' investments and funds, this checks so many boxes. It's absolutely amazing. I think it's going to be a real legacy project. And we're taking something that is going to cost, she says $8 million, but it's going to be probably more than that, $8 to $10 million of taxpayer dollars to bring this, just to maintain it, to get it up to where it should be, not to really improve it, just to maintain it, of taxpayer funds. This is, we're going to get a private person, Pete Dye legacy. How many times have you heard Pete Dye, Pete Dye? This is a Pete Dye course. Well, this was Pete Dye's protege. And Century Golf, I'm not a golfer, but I mean, they do the Walt Disney courses out in Pebble Beach, the golf courses. I mean, it's just an amazing partner, American Express. This is could be one of the top golf courses on the entire East Coast, and what an affordable price. If you're a Virginia resident, you're going to be able to play for a great price, and it's just amazing. There's not going to be any housing on the fairways, and we've made housing one of our top 4 goals that we've got, because we're underwater with needing housing, and this is going to cluster them all, and it's going to be at all different price points, so it's going to help people, and a daycare center. That's something else that we're really short on. And beyond that, it's going to bring in $3.4 million a year in tax revenue. So if you figure, instead of spending $10 million on this course in 20 years, $60 million for the city. And it's going to give our citizens a great golf course that people are going to drive and come here as a destination. This is going to be an amazing opportunity. $38 million are going to invest in this golf course. It's absolutely incredible. We couldn't, as a city, we couldn't compete with that and give our citizens something this good if it was up to us. I think it's very exciting that we have this proposal to look at.
Josh and Amelia.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Emily, for the presentation. Just a couple questions. If we can get a slide 18 and then 19. So just so we can understand, the public can understand, the city's public infrastructure investment is $4.3 million proposed. Those are for public infrastructure facilities, not infrastructure serving their proposed private residential development directly, correct?
Correct. It will remain within the city's right-of-way, primarily along Tournament Drive.
The contingency cap of 3.6.
Yes.
That's if needed.
If needed.
And then the contingency reimbursement grant of up to $10.2 million, that is out of project revenues, right? So that's not new, that's not exist out of the existing pie. that is by virtue of creating the additional taxable value, a portion of those monies, if required, would serve to fill whatever gap is necessary.
Yes,
So that's not today money, it's but for money that wouldn't have been available had this not happened, correct?
correct.
And, just generally speaking, I mean, I know, and we've all talked about this, but I think the community needs to know that this is not something that we were actively looking to go about doing. We were faced with the infrastructure reinvestment challenges and the capital reinvestment challenges that the Vice Mayor just discussed. And then we had a couple of proposals come to us. We evaluated those, and then we decided, we had questions, concerns, and just like anybody would. And then we came back and scheduled a time to talk about it. But in the interim period, there were several other proposals that came our way. And because we all realized how sensitive and unique this particular property is, and especially the area that it's in, the only mechanism that we really had to get it out into the public eye and into the public discourse was through an RFP mechanism. So that's why we issued the RFP was so that we could take this conversation out from behind closed doors and get it out into the open. I know me personally, I'm sure several of you shared these guardrails. Number one, Virginia Beach National is a unique golf course in the city of Virginia Beach and in the region, in that it doesn't have houses on homes. It has a true golf experience. You are on the golf course, you look around, and if you're like me, you get to go in the woods and say somebody's backyard. And so that experience is an important one to preserve. And so no houses on fairways, no houses on greens was something that was really important to us, and certainly important to me. Keeping it a publicly accessible and affordable golf course was also something that was important to me, and I know to probably everybody here. Making sure that first tee was protected forever was something that we ensured that we did out of the gate. So that what I thought that was a signal to the community that we understand the value of that amenity, and it serves our children and all of the school programming that it does. So we voted to gift that property to the YMCA so that they could further leverage that asset and make their own improvements. And again, to the extent there was housing, it wasn't going to interfere with the golf experience. So for me, what I see here is this keeps golf public. We're not closing or privatizing the course. We're leveraging significant public investment in order to restore it. It protects what matters most. It protects first tee. It provides for us to have a 99-year repurchase option, so that we can retain long-term control over the use and make sure that it remains a public amenity that it is. It addresses the deferred maintenance by putting that onto the private sector as opposed to taking it on ourselves. Virginia Beach National is an amazing golf course, but I don't know that somebody would get on a plane to come down here on purpose to go play that course right now as it is. I think somebody would come to get on a plane to come visit Virginia Beach and look up where they could play golf, and this may or may not be the second or third option that they have, but this would create a destination draw in and of itself. There's stay and play units that complement very well with our sports tourism investments in the PAC, because if you're sitting there watching your son or daughter play baseball or softball all day, you might want to stay somewhere where you can play golf. And this is really just only the beginning of a public process. Any residential component still has to come back to us. It's got to go through rezoning and public input. And to me, it's about responsible stewardship, preserving a public asset, preserving first tee, attracting private investment, and instead of at the public expense, and keeping, every future land use decision with regard to this property out in the open and subject to public scrutiny.
Okay, Amelia, then Jennifer, then Worth.
Well, first thing I have to say, Councilman Shulman covered most of everything, but this is important to realize who we have. The Draggers are experienced on doing what they do. They've won awards from the Virginia Beach beautification, the layout, and it's very thoughtfully done. If you notice, they're keeping the legacy of PI in there. I was pleased to see the child care, the keeping again of the first tee, and also reserving some sports amenities. So I will just leave it at that, but I think this is a win-win situation for our city. Thank you.
Jennifer, Cash, Barbara. Worth.
I keep going back to slides 5 and 15, and when we go to slide 5, please. Sure. So, looking at the state of the course over 20 years, and then will you go to slide 15, please? Thank you. Councilmember Shulman spoke to a little bit that we've gotten a lot of emails, and there's a lot of adoration of this course in the public. There's a lot of value and a desire for preservation of this course. And so I take that input very seriously when people want to preserve something that's really important to them. But as we've been getting these updates and these presentations, I want to be sure that I'm understanding this correctly as we're making decisions about this. So the issue, as I understand it, at the root of it is that the revenue that the current course is generating, it's not producing enough to maintain and sustain the course, which is why we're seeing that deterioration over time. The sand and overgrown trees, it looks like, I don't know if those are trees in that shot. And so there's a gap in funding. And so please correct me if I'm wrong. Slide 15, it shows that for about the same investment, if we invest 7.9 million, so that's the 4.3-ish upfront, and then potential contingencies, we could get an updated golf course, workforce housing, childcare, and projected 3.4 million in return to our general fund, or in revenue that we can use for. And then the teal line at the bottom is status quo. So that's if we did the 7.7 million to do repairs, that's what we will get in return.
Correct. It would take a lot longer to recoup that return.
So for me, I'm looking at the projections that for about the same investment, it's just a matter of which track are we taking, 7.9 million, and we could anticipate 3.4 in return, or 7.7 million and thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go Cash, Barbara, and Worth.
So I'm grateful that I've received tons of emails as well, but I like this proposal. It highlights affordable rates starting at 69 in season, 49 off season. Not just that, it highlights the need for childcare, right? And so it checks the box for our identity and who we are and our purpose and our concept of letting the world know that we are a tourist destination spot. And I think these are key points that we have to keep in mind, that we are trying to make sure everyone understands our identity. This checks the box. Next stage is public input. Thank you.
Okay, Barbara, then Worth.
Well, you're right. Public input is what we're lacking. We really should have had public input at the very beginning, which is what I say about everything. Public input is best when you start, so you've got the public as a part of it, because we never did address whether or not we thought it was a good idea to sell the golf course. So that is a beginning point. But when we get to the end, and I hear 659 residential units on 40 acres, it blows my mind. And I don't see a word in here anywhere about what that traffic impact is going to be, what the impact on our city services will be. It's as if we're not even talking about it. 659 housing units is 2/3 of the West Neck community. That's big. That's a lot. And I think we have to talk about that. We can't ignore it. Plus the fact that we know this is in a very highly impacted drainage area. The water from up north, the Silo project has to come through here in order to get to the Albemarle, to the North Landing River. This is very poorly drained soil. Historically, if you go back a time, this was a series of swamps, from the Dismal Swamp to the Holland Swamp, a whole series of swamps. It's terrible soil. Is this really the right place to put 659 housing units? And what's going to happen? We talk about stormwater being one of our main goals, dealing with it, and we haven't even the fact that this is one of our worst spots in the city for soil types as far as drainage goes. So yes, when you're only looking at these numbers, they sound fantastic, and it's going to be a wonderful golf course. But we're not looking at these other factors that I think we really have to look at now. We can't ignore these things. And of course, we won't even talk about where it is. It does happen to be below the green line. I guess this is why we had to call it courthouse instead of green line area, because we're forgetting all of that. It doesn't seem to fit with what we have been saying is our land use plan for that area. So I think talking about all of these numbers is fine, but we can't forget these other factors too. And I just can't get past that 659 housing units. I think when we talked about housing being a part of it, we were thinking maybe 1 house per acre or something like that. Never in my mind did I think of 659 housing units as a part of this area. And so I'm a long ways away, but I'm really anxious to hear what the public is going to say.
Okay, Worth?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Archer, for the presentation. Just a couple of questions and a comment, or comments plural. When you say we interviewed or we issued the RFP, just be clear to the public, at the direction of council, staff interviewed and issued the RFP and did all the interviews and evaluations.
Correct. We had a review committee with representatives from city attorneys, economic development, planning, community development, public works, that all are subject matter experts, and reviewed and brought their recommendation to council's consideration.
And the other proposals are affordable?
No?
I
Believe so, once you take a vote.
Okay. On page 16, just to be clear, the 99-year repurchase option, because the public is concerned about selling the golf course, and this is a sale of the golf course, but we still have control, because if it ceases to be a golf course, then we have the option to purchase for 99 years, correct? Thank you, Mr. Stiles. And then page 18, the contingencies, and this is really important along with my last statement, and that is the contingencies. We have 2 areas here, so we're capped. We as a city are capped here, and then we have some at the reimbursement grant. And so the risk really is, and I think the developer's done a lot of due diligence on this. This is a big project, and I hope the public will be able to see all the numbers here and get educated on this proposal. This is a big-time proposal, and a lot of numbers are thrown out today. We've seen them. The public has not yet. But this is important to understand that we're covering our downside, any future risk at some point when this will come about. So the contingency cap and the reimbursement grants are really important. And that leads to, I agree with what everyone said here. I'm looking forward to the public input once they understand it. And it's going to take them some time to understand it. But the company that we're about to go, if we go this route, is a very well-known, respected Virginia Beach company that's done this type of housing. This is their hallmark. It's workforce housing. Look around the city. Harbor Point, it's all around the city. And they do great work. I don't think they've ever lost any projects, and they're very good stewards to our city.
Okay, Jennifer?
To Councilmember Henley's point that So Spence Crossing is in my district, it's in District 10. I'm wondering if we can get information about how, kind of what that number of units can look like in a physical space. How many units for purchase are in Spence Crossing, and how many acres is that? Just for scale, for a sense of like space and place.
We can get that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Josh?
Just a quick question on some of the concerns that were raised, Ms. Archer. So looking at traffic impacts to schools, roads, and stormwater, those are all those are all part of the development review process. So I'm trying to make sure that it's not a foregone conclusion what we see here today, because it still has to go through all of that interdepartmental review, and we may not end up getting that many units or out of that. I mean, so I think a lot of the public discussion should come in connection with the ordinary planning and rezoning process, and there'll be public hearings, and there'll be notices and hearings before the Planning Commission and City Council, and all the way up to that. So this is really just an idea, and then we would move from this to a term sheet, and then we would work into an agreement that would be potentially contingent on all of those things, and rezoning and acceptable site plan review. Is that how the process would play out?
Yes, sir. So first of all, the rezoning would have to take place. They'd have to do a traffic impact analysis, preliminary stormwater analysis. This is in the Southern Rivers watershed to meet those standards or show that they can meet them. And then as far as these are the terms proposed, if you're agreeable, if you vote on them, we would work towards a full development agreement to flesh out the details. And then they wouldn't even close till they've achieved site plan approval, rezoning, all the things, their permits in hand, and then they would close on the property at the start. So this is a year process about to play out should you choose to move forward.
Okay, anybody else at this point? Let me just say this. Once again, I use the term confrontation with reality. And, housing is a national crisis. It's happening everywhere. And, Virginia Beach itself right now stands at a crossroad. Which direction are we going to go? We, at a retreat a number of years ago, said that housing is our fourth highest priority, after stormwater, after public safety, after schools. And we are at a crisis point. And I can tell you that we are told by some folks anecdotally that we're about 2,000 units short in the city of Virginia Beach that we need. And the cost of high home purchases and rents are due to the fact that there's not availability, there's not enough capacity to do this. And, so going forward, and the other thing, which is a very motivating factor for me, being on a military advocacy group that went to the Pentagon and being told by the Undersecretary or Assistant Secretary of Defense of every branch between here and Fort Eustis Langley that housing and daycare are critical to mission effectiveness for the military with recruitment and retention. And the fact is that the Silo project was backed by the Navy. We would not be doing this, bringing this forward, project forward, if it were not with the blessing of the Navy. We just got to think not only internally, but we got to think it externally in terms of what the value is. But once again, as we look at our future obligations, our $567 million stormwater project is now $1.6 billion, and we're going to be looking at significant infrastructure demands in the future. And by getting the golf course off our tax rolls, but in generating profit of it, is kind of a model of the thing that we're going to have to do to confront our future needs. And so once again, I think, let's have the public hearing. Let's hear what the people have to say. But once again, what we want to do is get into a situation that is a win-win. All decisions on housing is emotional these days. But once again, if we can put forward to the public a plan that is a win-win for everybody. But once again, you got to think about, we have 460,000 people in this city, and we have to do what is best for everybody. Yeah, Barbara?
I do have a question, if somebody could get the information for me. Right, this is just a small sliver that is not in the ACUS Act.
Correct.
So of this area that is definitely in the ACUS concern, we have this little sliver that happens to be on the other side of the line. Now, those planes don't fly right on a line, and one side of that line has got to have some high noise as much as the other side, because it was the noise factor that got us in trouble with Oceana. So if we're going to come in and take this little bitty sliver that's just barely across the ACUS line and put 659 houses in there, what is going to be their noise level in comparison to the other side of the line? How much difference is there actually? Because we don't want to turn around and put a very large housing project, which we kind of did with Silo, but we said, okay, maybe that's not too bad. But this one's even higher, that we're going to have in this little corner that's a very high noise zone. A lot of people who are going to complain to Oceana with the noise. So we really have to remember what got us in trouble with Oceana and whether we're going to be back there again. Because if the jets change or anything else changes to change that line, it could make a lot of difference. So I want to know what the ACUS factor is and what the noise levels are on both sides of that line.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, anybody else at this point? Okay, thank you, and once again, we will welcome public input.
So, Mr. Mayor, we're moving forward with a public hearing on July 7th, and then thereafter, with council's consideration, we'll take it on the 14th for council's consideration for a vote.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Kathy, how you doing?
Hello.
All right, so Mr. Mayor, members of council, the next presentation will be a briefing on the ITA master plan update. And in this briefing, we're going to seek council guidance as it relates to next steps in terms of taking it forward for consideration by the planning commission.
Excuse me, please.
Okay.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Thank you for having us here today. You will recall that City Council gave staff direction at last year's retreat to work on a plan showing how sports tourism, the potential expansion of Innovation Park, and municipal services can all work together as land uses within the interfacility traffic area, or the ITA. This has been a partnership of 3 departments: Parks and Recreation, Economic Development, and Planning. We then contracted with Dills Architects to help us with this task, and we've spent the last several months presenting to civic groups the conceptual layouts, as well as the public, to seek their feedback. The city has a unique opportunity here based on the thousands of acres we assembled in the ITA in response to the 2005 BRAC, all in an effort to ensure compatible development in this area. This is not an overhaul of the ITA plan. It is an update and potential expansion of uses already existing. At the end of the presentation, we will be looking for City Council to provide direction on next steps. And as a reminder, we can pursue some of the proposed land uses, all of them, or do nothing at this time. So I will now turn it over to Clay Dills, who's going to walk you through the concepts and the financial data.
Welcome, Clay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, Council Manager Doheny. We set out on this with 2 primary goals. The first being to develop a strategic 10 and 25-year update to the master plan. That's really about economic and cultural vibrancy in the ITA and about guiding city investment in the ITA. The second of those goals is to integrate future land use development for sports tourism and recreation, light industrial, agriculture, and all the ITA vicinity destinations that exist there now. To summarize those points, we're really trying to balance the economic development out there between industrial and all the destinations out there that are in sports tourism and those connections in the ITA. Our study, we're primarily focused on light industrial market assessment and economic projections with our partner SB Friedman. Sports tourism, our partner Victus did a market assessment and economic projections across those and across options for those. And then, of course, we studied prior master plans, prior studies of the ITA, land use patterns that exist now, of course, the ACUS and the IT regulatory overlays that are there, utility easements, which there are many of, ecological features, and active transportation out there. And really what we want to do is build on what the ITA does well now. Great public destinations like the amphitheater, the public institutions that are there now with Centera, medical and health, the sports facilities out there now that are part of sports tourism already. This is the Y. The Sportsplex, the Field House, and then the connection to commerce, light industrial, and connection to industry there that has started to take place mainly off of Hudom Way. For sports out there, which has a real stronghold in the ITA in the northern portion of it, it's a way to create open space, but also bolster tourism. We talked about VB National, the sports and how open space out there really connects to the southern areas of the ITA. And those areas connect to our communities surrounding that ITA and build on the character that's out there already. Agriculture being a big part of that and being a big part of the southern part of the ITA and the character of Virginia Beach and one of our primary industries. At right there, you see this is the overall ITA study area and master plan. The area in red is our focused area for proposed improvements. All the areas outside of that red area, we are not proposing any alterations or improvements to. So at the north there, you see Dam Neck Road, Princess Anne Road running along the right-hand side, and down to North Landing Road in the south. So here is that enlarged area. Again, Dam Neck Road in the north, Princess Anne Road in your upper right, running diagonally along there, and North Landing Road in the south. If you look at these industries and areas out there in color blocks, sports industry in the north in green, light industrial that started at Hudom and in our master plan will push into that northeast area. Ecological, agriculture, and open space in blue in the south and the west, and then carving out some area for future municipal facilities and municipal services. And that hatched area indicates that that whole area through there could be flexible between industrial development and or municipal facilities in the future. It's an aerial overview of the master plan. So this is Lansdowne Road, bisecting the image you see there. This is looking south. That's PAC at the right-hand side. You see off in the distance, agriculture, natural recreation, open space. And then at left, the field house, the stadium, sportsplex, and then bolstering that sports tourism area, and then industrial and facilities, municipal facility development beyond that. So that northern area that's dedicated to sports and sports tourism, right now there are a ton of existing destinations and things in PAC and both across the street, Lansdowne Road, you see there through the middle. We're adding to that. In the north, really in this area, if there's a goal for the northern area for sports tourism there, it's to create a destination-oriented district for sports tourism. It's increased visitation, increased revenue, and room nights from that. Victus, our study advisor on this, said you need to lean into these things here. If you really want tourism and sports to take hold and run out there, you need reliable and cohesive tournament sports offerings. That means there's less rainouts out there. You need a real tournament baseball complex that can host softball and baseball. You need a multi-use championship field, which there's one in the making already. And then the existing fields at PAC, all of those need to be converted to turf so that we don't have rainouts. And then we stitch those together with recreation amenities, much like the Parks and Rec master plan, pull all those things together so it's really a destination. In the northwest side of that, this is PAC primarily. You see Lansdowne Road at the right-hand side. In the bottom right, we're converting the baseball fields and 4 remaining rectangular fields to turf. We're adding action sports, outdoor action sports for BMX and mountain biking, bottom left, extending the parking for 150 spaces, adding 2 additional fields to the PAC baseball fields and softball fields. And then in the upper left, you see we're providing a connection between parking at the amphitheater and the Hampton Road Soccer Complex. Right now, they are looking for parking all the time out there. They're maxed out. This is an easy connection. It will increase visitation for them and for this area. And then in the north, also per the Parks and Rec plan, we're showing disc golf in and around Parks and Rec's building and out on that corner. And in the very top there, outside of the ITA restricted area, we're showing a potential hotel with a footprint of 150 keys. On the northeast side, across Lansdowne Road, you see in the middle there, we add that 11-field tournament complex. That does all ages 7 to 18 to college level, softball and baseball. We're also, in addition to that, adding 350 parking spaces as an overall parking plan out there. We're converting the existing sportsplex on 2 more sides into a multi-use championship field so that we can host 4 sports on game day, championship day, there for soccer, football, baseball, and lacrosse. And then in the north, you see the hotel there again, and then Hudome Way in the upper right, and its extension, which goes into the southern area of the ITA. It's a little bit closer view, the aerial of that. You see PAC at the bottom right. Bottom left is that multi-use championship stadium that we add seating on 2 more sides and extend that field. Baseball complex beyond that with its parking. You see Lansdowne Road there, that's an extension of Lansdowne Road towards the south as a roadway extension, and then future development in the upper left. There are great precedents for action sports, mountain biking combined, both as recreational and championship tourism amenities. This is in Rock Hill, South Carolina. So they have a regional BMX course there. This is like a pump and jump track course there. As you can see, it's been wildly popular for them. They also have woods adjacent to them that interconnect mountain bike fields, biking, all those sports together in one place. There's great examples across the country, actually, of co-locating light industrial uses with sports tourism and tournament fields. So this is Wintrust in Illinois. This is co-locating a baseball complex, light industrial, and medical healthcare land uses, which you see on the left-hand side there. You notice all the fields are both rectangular and diamond, so you can play any sport across these fields. This is Lake Point in Georgia. Similar, light industrial and commercial. You see off in the distance there behind the tournament fields, roughly a similar parking spot, and then baseball tournament, soccer tournament fields up front, all artificial turf. And then there's a very successful multi-use championship field that's in High Point, North Carolina. Been wildly successful. You see this is lacrosse, we believe, playing there, how they pull in the baseball stadium on one side. You turn the stadium on 2 sides, so you can get spectator around for all of these events. And then you can host 4 sports in one championship stadium. Victus, our sports advisor on this, did several pro formas and models for the tournament complex in conjunction with the multi-use championship field. The model they landed on as highest and best, especially as it goes to tourism, was a state of play model. That means the operator books packages for tournaments and for teams. They stay in Virginia Beach, they play in Virginia Beach. It's all part of a package. And we're recommending this as part of phase 1 for sports tourism in there. So that would be 11 adaptable fields. Development cost is $44.5 million. That generates 83,000 annual room nights and 2.4 million in annual taxes. The multi-use championship stadium, which adds to that, would cost $12.5 million to develop the additional seating and amenities around that field, but it adds 26,000 annual hotel room nights and an additional 820,000 annual taxes. This is a closer view of the baseball complex. Coming through the middle of it as part of the master plan, we're showing the Southeastern Parkway Greenway coming through there as a multimodal path. This interconnects sports tourism all the way through the ITA. It also interconnects communities to the sports and amenities that are in the ITA. And then upper left, you see the multi-use stadium. So for the southern area of our plan, so this is below the hard turn on Lansdowne Road, below where Hugh Dome has gone to now. It's really a problem of how do we align development and land use out there. And that has a lot and everything to do with where current development patterns have started now and where they want to go. And where they want to go is really based on land quality, land suitability to develop, the infrastructure investment efficiency, how much roadway do we need to build, how much infrastructure do we need to develop that land, and then how do we maintain natural buffers and character out there? How do we maintain the view sheds, the character, the agricultural character in the south of the ITA while doing this? Just a note about stormwater and land suitability out there. As you move south and west in the ITA, stormwater becomes a premium out there. So in the north, in the northeast, stormwater is already given to about 25% of the land to develop. You give away 25% to stormwater out there, which is already a fairly significant impact. As you move south and west, it can be up to 35 to 40%, meaning as the water migrates towards the river down there, the suitability to build on becomes tougher and tougher to do. So in the southwest area, and you see Lansdowne Road extended through the middle there, we're setting up a regional stormwater facility that would be a phased stormwater pond, which is naturally where the water wants to go from development in the north and the northeast. Along with that, we're adding a cross-country course. So that's 100 parking spaces, a small changing bathrooms pavilion that you see in the north there, and then a course that will host up to NCAA regional, potentially national championship level courses there for 2, 5, 6, 8, and 10K runs. Those trails, you see them in the lighter color, come down, they can run through the woods, along this pond, through the farm fields like cross country has always done, and then back again. Interwoven with those, you see the brown network of trails there. They are spectator trails, so that you're at the start and finish, but you can shortcut on cross country and see your runner come by and then beat them to the next point. Those are recreational trails that eventually the pond for paddle sports and fishing and anything on the water, as well as the trails, all this, it becomes a public amenity as well as a stormwater feature. And you see the agriculture that's remaining in the bottom. It's a view of that stormwater park, fully phased, fully built. You see the cross-country trails around it there at left. That's PAC in the upper left there, a baseball complex in the upper right, and then industrial municipal, Lansdowne Road extended to the south through the middle, and then light industrial or any other developed in the northeast there. There's a great cross-country course, Georgia Premier in Georgia. You run through farm fields, active farm fields, just like in the ITA. There's tons of overhead lines, just like the ITA. And then they have a stormwater pond there that does the same stormwater work for them, that you run around and interlink into the mature woods that are there as well. So for, as part of phase one as well, we're recommending cross-country be part of that. Again, those are 2, 5, 6, 8, and 10K courses. Along with that, the trails become public amenities along with the stormwater. This is roughly a $5.8 million development cost. That includes the parking, includes the pavilion. This generates roughly 24 annual events, 9,000 visitors, 7,800 annual hotel nights, and around 385,000 in annual taxes. Here's a broader view of the master plan. That stormwater park, you see the trails across country, how they'd interconnect agriculture to the outdoor amenities there on the Lansdowne Road extended with development off into the northeast, and then PAC and sports in the north. On the southeast side, you see in the top of the image, Hudome Way extended. So this is a natural extension of Hudome Way up there into light industrial flex type of development. So those parcels are open for development with that extension. And then we're extending Lansdowne, as you saw in the previous images as well, for that flexible area in there between municipal and industrial opportunity off of those. So overview from VB National. Bottom right, you see Hudome Way extended. That roadway is extended. It's buffered, but below the new tournament baseball complex there, you see the types of development that would come through. And then you see the stormwater pond. Lansdowne Road would be extended along where it says industrial municipal there on the right-hand side through down to North Landing Road eventually. SB Friedman, who does national work like this and looked at a ton of other markets as well as took a hard look at ours. They defined what our future trends are very likely for development, especially in the ITA. One is industrial, the I-1 that is currently happening out there, but also a flex type development. Flex is a CoStar definition that's a smaller form building usually. These are hybrid buildings. They're most often associated with tech, R&D. Many of them are happening countrywide right now in relationship to defense contracting, into support of major contractors or contractors themselves. We did some research along with the Hampton Roads Playbook and Alliance and their new deal and the defense and what they're saying for Virginia Beach, and very similar findings on those two market studies. Here's some precedent for this in Sun Valley, Texas, and St. Louis, Missouri. These are flex, small form buildings. Many of them, if you can imagine, they would have administrative functions or almost like small headquarter buildings. They do research and development. They do prototyping. They do some assembly, some manufacture in these buildings, but they really act almost like tech or advanced manufacturing facilities on a smaller scale. And again, this is a trend that they believe is happening in markets just like ours, especially ones where we have the installations, defense installations that we do. And then they took a hard look at industrial absorption for the city. So this is not only the ITA study area, but across Virginia Beach. Absorption of these type of facilities, industrial and flex, citywide, they estimate in 10 years we would need roughly 90 acres or 1 million square feet of industrial or flex use, and citywide in 25 years, 275 acres or 3 million square feet. For the ITA study area and its market, 10 years we would need 54 acres or 660,000 added square feet. In 25 years, 175 acres or 1.9 million square feet. For development opportunity, we're following roadway and roadway development phasing, really trying to figure out what is the most efficient way to invest in infrastructure to open up areas to develop. We've broken it into 4 primary phases. Phase 1 has 2 phases, 1A, 1B. 1A being a small southern extension of Lansdowne Road. That gets you to a cross-country location. It gets you to a potential municipal services location on the other side. It allows you to start stormwater there, and do that in a very small extension of the roadway. The 1B, which is a future extension of Hudom Way, that opens up those properties along it. Phase 2, you see in yellow there, is a southern connector that opens up those properties for development when needed. And then phase 3 is really extending Lansdowne Road further for either municipal or industrial development along that length. Phase 4 is really a connection of those two, closing the loop on the roadway and connecting in the south. Total development acreage here for industrial and or municipal is 366 acres in total. And that includes roadway, that includes the stormwater required. It's 85 acres you see in red there for phase 1, 135 for phase 2, and municipal or industrial 58 in phase 3. Phase 1A and 1B, Hudom Ways extension, as well as the small extension of Lansdowne Road. Again, it's 85 acres. We are showing a test fit here of 820,000 square feet. Costs here to develop are $15.9 million in roadway and $10.5 in stormwater improvements. This nets 1,148 jobs, or $1.2 million in direct annual tax revenue. Phase 2, there in yellow, which is 135 acres. It's 1.4 million square feet of test fit square footage that we're showing, to a cost of $9.6 million in roadway and $14.6 million in stormwater improvements. This yields 1,757 jobs and a little over $2 million in annual revenue from taxes. Phase 3, which is really industrial or municipal services, this is 58 acres or 600,000 square feet. The cost of that extension and infrastructure there is $10 million on the roadway and $6.8 million for stormwater. Again, there's an overview. You see bottom right is the tournament baseball complex, Hudom Way extended. We're trying to be somewhat accurate in the form of these buildings and a mix of industrial uses and flex uses in there. And then you see along the stormwater park, the extension of Lansdowne Road, the industrial municipal areas that can be flexible for those uses. To date, public briefings, stakeholder meetings that we've held up until now, and they've seen this slide deck. We've met with the public, presented to the public on April 29th, had a full information session there with presentation as well as work in the room. After that, we met with the Resort Investment Committee, Parks and Recreation Commission, Open Space Advisory, Active Transportation. May 7th, we went to the Transition Area and the ITA, Citizens Advisory Committee, and the Agricultural Advisory Committee. May 12th, we met with Virginia Beach Development Authority. May 13th, Planning Commission, which was cut short, and we postponed so that we could give them the full briefing. We met with Green Ribbon on May 28th and then came back to Planning Commission on June 1st. Some key takeaways from that engagement. Number one, it was stressed to maintain character and identity. That really has to do with the natural mature buffers of trees out there, those view sheds that they afford that are there now. How do we maintain that and maintain some of the agricultural identity that certainly exists in the southern part of the ITA? Two, refine industrial uses and facility types and facility quality. This means identifying what industrial uses are allowed out there. Right now it's currently zoned as I-1. And then refining what architectural quality of facilities are allowed in this area. Number three was a broad statement about transparency, about public investment for development. Number four, limiting industrial traffic from areas that serve sports, that serve recreation, and connect to pedestrian walkability and bike pathways through that area. Number five, integrating tournament facilities along with phase-in of recreation amenities in the sports area. Six, allow for the potential need for larger development parcels. So in our plan, you'll see smaller form buildings. Many of those could be, you can do one instead of two parcels. These can be doubled up. Number seven, provide flexible phasing based on development land needs. So again, that has to do with roadway alignments and what goes first, how we phase those. And last but not least, which essentially brings us back to our first goals, how do we create jobs, which is really on the development side, add to city tourism, and generate taxes? How do we do this in a balanced way for the ITA? Just some plan and economic data. You'll be interested in the top phase one for both of these, sports tourism and recreation. Phase one, we're recommending the tournament complex, the stadium work, and the cross country. That's $62.8 million. That yields 125,000 annual room nights, 1,435 jobs, 3.36 million in annual taxes. On the industrial side, phase 1A and 1B, which are together 26.4 million. That's roadway and stormwater, adds 1,148 jobs and 3.25 million in annual taxes. Just a note about agriculture and open space. Total open space out there, including the mature stands of trees, is a little over 2,200 acres. Existing farmland that is active farmed now is 650 acres. Remaining after this plan is 304 acres. The other recreational improvements here, if there were priorities in those, I would say it's the conversion to artificial turf for the PAC fields. You see those as items number 2 and 3. Those total recreation improvements are 80.75 million for that entire list. And then just a summary, these are broken out from all of this data, the roads and pathways. So in total, across the entire ITA, we're proposing recreational soft trails, just purely natural recreation, of 28.8 miles. The multimodal path through the ITA along the Southeastern Greenway, that's 2 miles. All together, all the roadways, is approximately 3 miles of new roadway out there. And then extension connection of existing pathways for pedestrian use is 3.4 miles in total. So next steps, as Kathy said early on, we'd like to receive your feedback. You know, as Kathy said, you can consider pursuing all, some, or none of these proposed improvements. We are here to revise and make changes to the master plan or answer questions, certainly, if needed. 3, to create recommendations, further recommendations and breakdown of phasing based on that direction for 10 and 25-year phased plans and investment. If pursuing this plan We would need to go to planning commission for consideration, and then back to you for council consideration.
Okay. Rosemary, and then Barbara.
Well, Clay, as always, you put together a very complete and beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
You really need to be complimented on what you've done.
Thanks.
And I do have a question, because I couldn't quite follow it. So at one point, Innovation Park 2, which is the newer piece, was not connected with Innovation Park 1. Did you move it so that they're two are closer together now?
We did. We are trying to interconnect all of those so that they work together and actually becomes more efficient that way from an
Yeah, that was a concern when I saw this before, that they were disjointed. And I remember asking you, can't you move things around?
Yeah,
So-
we can.
So it looked like you had done that, but I just wanted to make sure. But it's a very totally complete plan, and you really deserve a lot of credit. Thank you.
Okay, Barbara.
Well, there's a lot to talk about with this plan and with this area. And of course, I think it's important that we keep in mind this is a 10 to 25-year plan, so we've got time to mess with it. And I think it's kind of ironic that we're talking about this the same day that we talked about what we did before, because the ITA, of course, was created by BRAC. And the reason it was created, ITA stands for Interfacility Traffic Area. It's the flyway between Oceana and Fentress. And the bottom line with the ITA is there can be no residential in that area because of the noise. And so no residential or anything else that people are sleeping in. That's why when you mentioned that hotel, you specifically said it's out of the ITA. It's in that little spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Because nothing in the ITA is supposed to happen for people sleeping in because of the noise. That's the whole purpose of this area, was to protect Oceana from noise. So no residential. And so when we did the first ITA plan in 2010, the purpose was to tell people what they could do with their property, since we had told them what they couldn't do. And so I think the whole thing with the sports is just so fantastic, because it gives us so many wins with the economic, with the tourism aspect of it, with what we have with our families, and all of those opportunities with sports are just fantastic, and they work. They work with the noise factor, but it also works with the quality of the land out there, because ball fields are a good place. If it rains, you just don't play ball. You don't worry about it flooding. So this whole thing just has so many opportunities that tie together so many different aspects of what we're trying to do. And I think it's so exciting that we've got all of these opportunities here, particularly with all those opportunities as far as the sports tourism go. And we can really do everything we're talking about doing except the industrial without this addition, because we've got the agricultural, we've got the preservation, we've got the conservation, we've got the sports tourism. So everything is fine. It's the industrial that we're trying to shove in here, and I'm not sure we're not trying to put a square peg in a round hole, because maybe the industrial is what's going to give us trouble, because we've got to extend Hudone Way. We've already spent something like $26 million on a road that wasn't even in our master transportation plan, when we can't even build Indian River Road. Now we're talking about having to extend Hudone Way and Lansdowne Road when we can't even build our basic roads. So I think this is creating some issues that we don't really need right now. Plus, when it talks about the fact that you're going to be using 25 to 40% of your land for stormwater factors, kind of tells you that that's a waste of your land. Anytime you're using 25 to 40% of your land to build a stormwater park, yeah, it makes a nice place there to do something with, but it doesn't do what we usually think of doing with our very precious land. So there are a lot of issues with this. I think it's very exciting. I think we've got a lot of opportunities, and I'm glad we've got 10 to 25 years to resolve it in, because it's going to be a factor of going step by step as we do. But one thing I would like to know right now, as soon as we can, is a little bit more about corporate landing. We talk about needing industrial land. Well, we've got a lot of industrial land sitting over there that's not being developed, because corporate landing has a lot of area that is still yet to be developed. And I know that some individual or some companies have got commitments on some parts of the land. I want to know what that is. Have they put down have they purchased it? Are they just sitting on it and not doing anything with it? Or what is with corporate landing? Because corporate landing is really in a much better place for industry. It's over by Oceana. It's in an area where we've got the infrastructure. It's in an area that doesn't flood so much, but it's not developing. So if we're so hurting for industrial land, why is our industrial park sitting there with so much unused land? I think we really need to look at that, but I think we need to really be careful as we are thinking about this area, because I see this as one of our greatest opportunity areas, and we can do things in this area that just are any other locality would die to be able to do. We've got so many opportunities here to do the right thing. And I think when we're looking at the trails, when we're looking at the, well, just looking at that cross-country track, what that would do for us from a tourism standpoint is fantastic. Plus, our kids need it to just practice track. So I would like to see us, and I think at one point 2 years ago when we started talking about this, we said we were going to look at some of the low-hanging fruit. I think that cross-country track is very low-hanging. I wish we would get on with that. But I hope we can really plot out a course of action here that can move us along, but in a very careful fashion. Because if we do the wrong thing here, we can really mess up some opportunities.
Okay, before I get to Hutch, if I could just address Barbara real quick. First of all, nothing will ever happen in this area unless the Navy blesses it. And the other thing is consider, a major consideration that the region with the tax, you brought up, the playbook, we're trying to create in the region a new pillar of defense industry. Because once again, if we take a look, we have the largest naval base in the region. We have Oceana. We have tremendous military assets right here. And right now, we are in economic development, trying to develop, defense industries, and they're coming here. When I went to London, we met with a group, and now we have a major contract, coming here for small submarines and things of that nature. This area, the entire region is going to be an epicenter of defense contractors. I was with the BDS the other day, and they manufacture a lot of, they started off selling oxygen tanks on Great Neck Road, and now they're a multi-million-dollar defense contractor, and they're also getting into building preformed barracks and hangars for people. These industries are clamoring to come to our region, and especially Virginia Beach. Be assured that nothing would ever happen, without the blessing of the Navy. Let's go with Hutch and then Worth. You were up first.
I'd rather go ahead of you. I'll look a little better. If I have to follow you, I'm in trouble. Anyway, first question, let's go to slide 5. That's where I'm going to base most of my stuff off of. Clay, also, thanks for making it very educational and easy to understand. Appreciate it. Okay, so my first question, and I said this, I don't know when we first started or my first time being on the seat here 2 years ago now, or I said there's a few thousand acres, and it didn't make sense to me why we can't get some commingling of all sorts of things, whether Salida, farmlands, sports, some economic development. To me, it seems like when I hear thousands, that's what my brain says is let's work together and make something very dynamic. And I think you've got a really good start here or finish. I don't know exactly how it works, but I appreciate that. So my first question is, when we talk about acreage of what we're trying to do here, do you happen to know what the total, and is that one of the slides in the very back I saw was, you don't have to go to it if you can just, I'm not asking for exact numbers, but.
So we are,
And I'm talking total,
so total open space, other than where we're showing development, is 2,200 acres.
That's what's still going to be left after this development.
Yeah, so it's in totality of what you see colored there is probably 3,500 acres.
Okay, so if you could just say that one more time. The open space is how many acres?
That we're leaving after our proposed improvements are 2,201 acres.
That matters, like a marathon, huh? So, okay, so that's a lot of acreage. I mean, I think everybody would agree to that. Okay. The roads, the way we were stitching the roads together there, the way you were doing it. And my terminology would be, again, that you're saying we're trying to make it complementary so that we get more bang for the buck is what you're trying to do there, right?
Minimize the investment on roadway and infrastructure,
Right.
but open up as much possible to development. And that goes for sports as well as
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter which,
for any of those things.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which color code we're going with.
That's
If
right.
you put the roads in, the more use we can get out of it, the better it is for the taxpayers and everything else. So again, you're trying to maximize that.
That's right.
Right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then the one thing I thought was like the hotels. I'm gonna go back to something else I want to say here, but it seems like to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but we're talking about you had the one little spot for the hotel, which that's not really my point. But when we start talking about all the things that we want to do, because in 10 years it'd be enough that it'd be substantial. I know it's not next month, but in 10 years. Those folks, that hotel and the one down by TCC is not going to be enough to handle this kind of.
And our market assessment tells us that.
Yeah, there's no way.
If these improvements were made, that would be needed immediately, and then another would be needed in 3 to 5 years.
Okay. And that's what I was going to say is so that would then have to come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or,
That's right.
what are we saying, 15, 20 minutes to the ocean front? Something like that is what you're hoping they would do and not go the other direction?
Yeah.
Not go south?
And
Right?
really that state of play model I was talking about, that's what's used most often. And it's for tourism reasons, right? It's for that very reason you're talking about.
Okay. And then, and I said it, and I guess at this point I'm asking for let's find out what it does mean if it is doable. And it's kind of like Councilman Berlucci's overpass from Trashmore to, as I've said 3 or 4 times about camping. Next week I'm going to Pocahontas to go for 3 days while I go mountain bike riding. So, and it'll be full, not just for the campground. They got a pool. I mean, not just for the mountain biking, but it's 34 acres, that you can ride on. So it's a lot. Is there anywhere in this thing that's feasible to put a nice campground so that, does that fall into the same numbers? Sleeping, is that what that is? And can you get outside of it somewhere to do this?
It would have to be a check with the Navy on that. I think.
And I mean, even get outside there, go so where they're not worried. I'm not saying that is, we keep saying that part, but if it's not, I'm talking about down Salem Road, like getting out of the area, I think it would be a major hit. For all that we're talking about putting here, a lot of the families, softball, they're active. The water stuff we're talking about.
I wouldn't minimize the last slide that I showed that had the recreation and natural recreation amenities on there.
Right.
Even our sports tourism guy who said do the baseball tournament. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
They also said do those items because you will boost all your visitation numbers. I mean, it's what other places call ecotourism, which is what you're about to go to.
Well, yeah, and my close friend was at the wave was at the wave park the other day riding waves, and he had a guy sitting beside him who was here for an event with his daughter, but he had 3 hours, so he went and booked a session and said he would do it every time he came. So that's what we're talking about here, right?
That's the synergy.
Right. I think we can do that. And I also think, though, that we can put in some light industrial. I've said it here a few times. When I ride in Newport News, I can put my hand on the parking garage at Riverside Hospital. So, and it doesn't bother me as long as I turn before I hit it. So, you know, it's one of those things that I think can be made very possible. Okay. The one thing that, and Ms. Henley hit on it as well, I want to ask about. So when we start talking about going, I think you said south and west. Okay. That's where we go from 25% to over 35% that has to be held as wetlands, right? Because it's wet, I guess it's
for stormwater.
But is it forced on us, or is that like, why is it going from 25 to 35 or
It's
what?
the nature of the soils.
Because it's water's coming down.
Yeah, and the geology that's out
Okay.
there. Yeah.
And just as something that I've never heard of before, and just trying to get clarity for anybody else, is that what's a number that we worry about? Like, is that getting into a range where it's like, okay, we don't mess with this land?
No, it's not so I wouldn't say it's a worry for flooding. This is an engineered facility, right? So really what this diagram tells us is that you're better to keep light industrial up in the north and the east because it will cost less to develop. It will cost more to develop. And if we do a regional facility like this, all of the small, like 1 acre, 2 acre ponds that you have to have in the Northeast would spread industrial across the ITA. You would end up with less opportunity, more infrastructure investment to build roadways to get there. And so
this way is maximizing again. You're doing what we just
the most efficient way to do it, and it's also the most efficient for private investment.
Okay, cool. And then just two more quick questions. The with the baseball, will you go back to 5, please, Bud?
Yes, sir.
When you're looking at the green there and then the purple around it, I go back again to personal experience, and I've been to a couple of the places that you were talking about for soccer tournaments and all. And I'm just saying, for me, and I think this is still just lines on a page. If you took the purple that's hanging down beside, we might as well say where the yellow is, where Lita is, where we're looking. If you went more up with that, wouldn't you minimize the contact between the sports and the industrial and Lita and everything else? Would that not help with that section, just to get all of that up into that right-hand side of the green area?
Let me zoom in here. It is, if you see there, we're trying to keep a significant buffer there. You're talking about between like the baseball fields.
I was saying like reverse it so that you had all the light industrial up at the top and more out of the way, and had the baseball and stuff down at the bottom. To me, then you've got, then once you clear the light industrial, whatever we're calling it, you're into more of the promised land. You know, you've got the fun stuff, the baseball, then you get into agriculture and the water. That was just my thought.
I think the only, and we can look at it because I don't think we really studied that. What we heard from our market assessment from Victus and is kind of intuitive in this is right now PAC and all those destinations out there are fairly widespread. It's not really cohesive out there. And so, you know, their recommendation was like, you need more density. People need to be able to walk from here to there. So
would we be increasing that, is what you're saying? I thought I was suggesting to make it better, but maybe I'm not.
It may disconnect the baseball fields, but I'm happy to study it though.
Well,
because I hadn't really thought about it flip-flopping like
I was in the fire department, not this part, so I trust you on that. You know, you take a look at it and see what you
look at it now.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, buddy. And then the last thing is, because Ms. Henley said it, it was kind of the first time that I've ever heard it this way of all my time here in the city with the bass and everything else. Noise is one thing, but I also thought it was survivability profile and everything else that the Navy looks at is you don't want to put housing and stuff like that. You want density underneath fly zones and stuff. So is it a noise? Is it is it danger? Is it both? Yeah, I just didn't know. Does anybody?
We'll definitely get a clarification from the Navy as well.
Yeah, I just had never been brought, I always thought, and maybe because it's what I did, we were worried about the planes going down more than the noise.
Right, I mean,
They have that happen, I'm not saying that.
right, and there's some component, but it's really the noise contours that you're worried about. However, I would say the Navy has been at several of these presentations and so far doesn't have any issue with the way the layout
Thank you for
shows.
clarifying. I really was not even getting, of course, we're going to follow what the Navy tells us, but I was more just the definition of it. Thank you. I'm done, sir.
Thank you. We'll go Worth and Josh.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Dills, for the work here. It's really well laid out, and as I think Councilman Shulman said way back, this is truly, and I think Councilmember Henley as well, this is truly aspirational, but it is a roadmap, and it can be staged over time, and it is a 5 to 20. I have no crystal ball on this, and there is potentially low-hanging fruit. Just a quick question about because a minute ago, Councilman Hutch here said about 25% to 35%. Clay, or Mr. Dills, what's the average, like for a 1 acre or whatever size? Isn't the stormwater about 25%, 20? Depends on
In the
soil.
ITA in the northern area.
Just in general.
Yeah, in general, it's probably a little bit less than that.
Right.
So the ITA is already somewhat encumbered by stormwater and sort of low-lying. You know, a lot of water tries to migrate through there down to the rivers.
Right.
And so I know at the soccer complex up there, they were in the 25% range and they're well into the north.
Just a couple more. So you mentioned the soccer, HRSC, Hampton Roads Soccer Complex, just to plug. They really do need the 1.6 million for the parking to connect over to the amphitheater parking lot. It's really, really crucial. And we're not going to decide on that today, but I just want to make a plug. But back to the industrial, corporate landing, really was designed as an office park, corporate landing. And over time, we've needed less office and more flex and industrial. And so 2 comments, the last couple of uses that have closed there or soon to be closed there are existing Virginia Beach businesses, not new to market. So expansion opportunities for our existing businesses. We can get a list of those maybe. They're flex users. And probably get maybe a list also on what, like, I think Dominion Energy wants an option for 30 acres. It's a fair amount of land for a long time, and that's another issue for another day. But we have very few places in our city, corporate landing being an office park, where we're putting flex right now. Innovation Park, again, the 2 businesses there, Architectural Graphics, which is a flex type of use, corporate headquarters. That was an expansion from Oceana West Corporate Park. Again, another existing business that could expand in our city. And again, Acoustical Sheet Metal, which is their third or fourth building that they're building in Innovation Park. Again, another local business, advanced manufacturing in our city, not going somewhere else. So with 14 million square feet under roof in our city for industrial, we need space for our existing businesses, much less any new businesses. ADS, defense contractors, steel, advanced manufacturing. We have a big base now that I don't know where else in the city, maybe by the airport, but that's been looking at that for 40 years. So that's my comment on industrial.
Okay, Josh.
Thank you, Mayor and Mr. Dills. Thank you very much for your presentation and all the thought and effort that you and your team put into this, along with our staff, planning, Parks and Rec, economic development. And I know this was a result of a desire to reconcile 2 competing views for this area. And in reality, those views don't have to compete with one another because they can coexist, and that's what you've shown us. An important thing to note, and Councilman Remick said it just now, is that this is really about updating a planning framework. It's not about approving any specific project. And every future proposal involving this land would also come before the Planning Commission, the council, be subject to public scrutiny would have to satisfy all of the site review and site plan requirements, stormwater traffic, all of those things. And I think, slides 31 and 32 are probably the most important slides I think you put in here, is because slide 31 says exactly what we were just talking about, is take what you have, and align the development and land use with the characteristics of the property, the natural characteristics of the property. And I was actually really surprised and pleasantly surprised, because I'm sure the folks who I'm sure there were a lot of folks that thought that there would be a whole lot more contemplated in terms of economic development, period. When in reality, I think it was only 366 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And then on slide 32, that arrow really tells a very descriptive story about how it doesn't make sense to build impervious surface the further southwest you get, because it makes no economic sense to do so, and it's not the right thing to do for the environment. And considering, I know we've talked about sports uses, and I know certainly they're less intense than economic development and industrial uses, but if we're gonna build, or if someone is going to build a sports facility, those facilities would constitute impervious surface. The parking lots that serve those facilities would constitute impervious surface. Turf fields are impervious surface.
Yeah, we said in other presentations, it's all treated as development. So there are ponds and stormwater associated with them as well.
And so I think that even as we go about trying to incorporate sports uses down there, we can't be delusional in our analysis, because all of those uses have kind of similar impacts.
Mm-hmm.
And you move to the very end where you've got these proposed figures for investment, and I look at these numbers, and these are notional. I mean, they're run down and investigated, and these are best guesses, but they don't take into account the potential for private investment to come alongside of public investment.
Yeah, those are the asterisks on there, actually.
And those are important asterisks.
Yep.
And then the other thing that kind of screamed out loud at me was just phase one costs. If you compare sports tourism and industrial, there's a $62.8 million notional cost of phase one that would then result in $3.36 million. So from a $62.8 million investment, we would get $3.36 million in annual tax revenue, as opposed to the industrial, where we're investing, or the investment, not we, the investment is $26.4 million, and phase one jobs are almost 1150. Phase one taxes are $1.2 million. So I think it's pretty clear to me that dollar for dollar there's a difference there. However, that doesn't speak to the indirect benefits that the sports tourism provides, and the recreational amenities provide, because those are generative of other tax revenues that dump into other buckets. So
you have to watch the room nights on the tourism side.
Absolutely. I mean,
jobs on the development side.
Restaurant and meals taxes. I mean, all of those things. So, and then finally, I think it is worth noting that we have made significant investments over the last 3 years, in particular in sports tourism initiatives, including, I believe, $19.5 million that we added to the budget in 2023, 2024. to help with the Hampshire Road Soccer facility, the Sportsplex, and field hockey. Pickleball. It's really important that people do understand and that it is spoken aloud, that we do make those investments, and we do value sports tourism as a means of growing our economy. Thank you.
Hey, anything else, Rosemary?
I'll be really brief. There have been very good comments from around the table. I just want to say, this is a large tract of land, I think 4,400 acres with 2,200 to be developed. And it's like something there for everybody, that there's a great compromise to have the sports tourism and the agriculture, and only a little over 300 acres for economic development. I think it's just a really wonderful compromise. And corporate landing, it's my understanding that there's only about, and Worth, maybe you can remember, there's only like 11 acres left that are not committed for corporate landing. So there's really no other place to go for future growth. And I know that to get state grants for economic development, you have to have larger parcels that can be put together, 50 acres or more. So I think this will be a really good compromise, and I'm so happy that you moved it so that they're all contiguous there. But it's a great compromise, and you've laid it out, and it's really nice to see the dollars and the cents. And whether you're having sports tourism, you have to have roads to go to those places, as well as roads to go to the businesses. And as I said before you play, you got to work. Everybody has to have a job and make some money before they can start playing. But thank you so very much.
Okay, Barbara.
Yeah, I did have a question from one of my constituents who's been asking through a Freedom of Information Act request about what constitutes a commitment in corporate landing. And he's not been able to get an answer. I mean, what is it that people do to commit the land? I mean, do they have some kind of down payment that they've put on it, or just what? So could somebody look at corporate landing and let me know
Option agreement.
just what the situation is out there?
Mr. Mayor, Emily Archer, the Director of Economic
You can do it at
Development.
another time. We've been
Let's
so
go ahead
long
and get
in
an
this
answer
stuff.
for you, Barbara.
Yeah, so typically there's a down payment of 25 to 50,000, depending on what they're proposing for that. 25 to 50,000, depending on the development, to encumber that land in a purchase agreement or option payment of some kind. But we will get you a full report.
So it just holds the land for a time, because, I mean, we've got people that I've been hearing we're going to build in there since the day the place opened, and they haven't built yet. So there's something that they do to commit the land, and that doesn't mean there's not land available, it's just that it's not being used. So I think we've got a real problem out there. I would kind of like to look at our way of operating.
Yes, ma'am, there's contracts with terms that we make sure they adhere to, or they ask for extensions. We'll get that information to you.
That doesn't give us jobs if they've got contracts on it, does it?
And I'm sorry, just a corollary, are they paying the real estate taxes if they get income of the property? Are they paying an additional amount of the real estate tax?
Not at that time, but the option payment is.
I haven't read this one.
Okay, Clay, thank you for a great presentation. And let me just say, I think the ultimate goal of our council, and me in particular, was to come to a win-win on this. I think Josh had it when he said there was competing ideas, and somehow, trying to find, a middle that accomplishes things. And let me just say this, and, once again, one of the situations are Virginia Beach, we're running out of land for use. And we're not using that as an excuse, we're using that as a reality. And then once again, the idea is that we're playing chess, not checkers, and looking ahead and the future obligations that we're gonna have for stormwater, infrastructure updates, repair, just running a city during tough times is gonna be there. But once again, we got it out there, we got a decade or two to work on this. And the thing is, though, we have to have a plan, it'll be incremental, and, let's see if we can get to a win-win. Patrick?
So, Mr. Mayor, Council okay with moving forward with bringing this to planning commission for consideration, or should we take no action at this time?
I tell you what, let's bring it to planning commission. And but you know what, I was really delighted about the public engagement that we had today.
Yes, sir.
So nobody's gonna be surprised by anything, but, you know, once again, we got we got a bunch of other questions that I think, you know, planning commission can help us answer.
Thank you.
Okay? Okay, and let's go into council discussion initiatives and comments. Anybody? Barbara?
I've just mentioned that Thursday night, the 18th, there's a public meeting at Creeds Elementary School about the Pungo Ferry Road projects. That's one of our stormwater projects, and I'm not sure that there's been a lot of public information that's gotten around to the folks down there. I hope that they do know to come. I think it's from 5 to 7 at Creeds School.
Okay, anybody else? Cash?
I know this week we are planning for Juneteenth, and so we've got 2 events that are happening. We've got one jazz team that's happening, and also Juneteenth at Mount Trashmore. So exciting times for us coming up, and we're grateful for that opportunity. So I just want to let everyone know, check your social media, be engaged with Juneteenth and jazz team this week.
And good, and just remember that the city of Virginia Beach was the first one to recognize Juneteenth.
That's right.
As a holiday. Yeah. Okay, Mary?
I have something more. Okay. This is to do with that sale 250, Virginia. The resort has been reinvest in the resort area as a primary destination. Sale 250, Virginia, taking place June 19th to 23rd, 2026 in Norfolk, will feature the Parade of Sales as its signature event. The parade will depart the Lynn Haven Anchorage Offshore Drive in Virginia Beach at approximately 7:30 a.m. on June 19th and arrive at designated docking locations in downtown Norfolk and Portsmouth beginning at noon. The first landing, State Park, will serve as a premier public viewing location for the Parade of Sales on Friday, June 19th. This is very important because lots of times I've been over at the other regional and they're talking about what's happening in Norfolk, what's happening in, but we are the first landing. So that is important on that 19th to have public viewing locations. The gates will open at 7:00 a.m. Ships begin departing Anchorage at 7:35 a.m. The final ship expected to cross the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, approximately 10:15 a.m. Parking, $7 per vehicle. Additional fees apply for oversized vehicles. ADA beach access is available, including 2 beach wheelchairs offered on a first-come, full-serve basis. The location is First Landing State Park, 2500 Shore Drive, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23451. And Visitor Center is located at the Chesapeake Bay Beach entrance. Throughout the event weekend, Norfolk Fest event will operate shuttle services for visiting tall ship crew members between Town Point Park, Virginia Beach, Town Center, around Bank Street, and Sandler Center, and the Virginia Beach Oceanfront, Atlantic Avenue, between 21st and 22nd Street. The Central Business District Association and Atlantic Avenue Association have coordinated efforts to welcome visiting crews. The Convention and Visitors Bureau will staff visitor services tents at both the Oceanfront and Town Center locations daily from 9:30 a.m. to 6:00 p.m. In addition, visitor services will maintain an information booth at Town Point Park from June 19th to 22nd. The shuttles for the cruise will run Saturday, June 20th, have 6 buses. from 10 o'clock to 8 p.m. The last return pickup at Oceanfront is 7 p.m. Last return pickup at Town Center is 7:30 p.m. And on Sunday, June 21st, again 6 buses, 10 to 8 p.m. Last return pickup at Oceanfront is 7 p.m. And last return at Town Center is 7:30 p.m. Monday, June 22nd, there will be 4 buses, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Last return pickup at Oceanfront is 7 p.m. Last return pickup at Town Center is 7:30 p.m. If you have any further questions, contact our Deputy City Manager, Amanda Jarrett, or Department Director, Nancy Hellman. So we are very involved in this, and this, if you notice, involves the Town Center area and Councilman Schulman's across the Shore Drive. So this is important information that you can ask as needed. Also, the buses, the transit system, all areas, whether it's ferry or the buses will be free during Juneteenth. And then at the Sandler Center, besides what Councilman Cash Green spoke about, from 12 o'clock to 1:30, at the Sandler Center, in front of the plaza, we're gonna have a Juneteenth homage to the entire situation. We're gonna have some performers. We're bringing in Skinny and Greg Garrett. We're bringing in from SeaTac, the Gregory brothers from Historic SeaTac, and we're also bringing a saxophonist, and that is sponsored through the VAACC in collaboration with Jazz Fest and the Sandler Center. So lots of things are going on. We invite some of the children to come out and adults because it's important. This time it's not just about events, but telling the history. So we'll have someone and we'll have a little program so people can understand its significance. Because a lot of people think, why it took so long? And you can imagine in those days, they had to go by horses, starting from the Emancipation area in Hampton, once it learned to get across. And the unusual thing was in Galveston, where the ships were, it started going one way and the wind blew them another way, which helped end up the way they were in Galveston to bring the story. And most important, a lot of people thought these people just, that we're free and go. No, a lot of them stayed and said, wait a minute, you've had us this long, where's our land? Where's our reconciliation for having gone through this process? So it's quite an interesting story. And yes, our mayor was the first for this area to announce that making it a holiday before it became federal. And that was during, we had the pandemic. How do I know? I had to come here, get the memorandum, take it quiet with my mask on to Sandler Center and to honor the lady who you wanted to for that time. So we have a major play in what happens throughout the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Josh?
Just a point of pride, Council Lady, I'm privileged to share the Bayfront in representation with Council Member Remick and Council Member Cummings.
Okay, more cash.
Last thing, sorry, everyone, if you want more information on Jazzteenth, visit virginiabeach.com. That's amazing. From June 20th, and it's going to carry from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm sure different events throughout the rest of the month. Anyway, so visit virginiabeach.com. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We're ready for the agenda?
Rosemary.
So, Madam Clerk says we don't have any speakers.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, we have a speaker, but only one, so you don't have a floor.
All right, which one is it?
For Hotel Indigo. Jay Green.
Okay. Excuse me? Oh, Mark?
Just as you're going through the agenda, Vice Mayor, there is at your places an amended term sheet for item 8. It just corrects a typographical error and makes the outline of terms match the language in the actual ordinance. So if we could just note that item 8 is as amended, that would be great.
Amended, what's amended term sheet?
Yes, attachment A.
Okay, so on ordinances and resolutions, is everybody okay with it?
I would just say on the resolutions 12 and 13, I did have some confusion, and I appreciate the city attorney clearing it up. These are two grants from the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund, and the way they operate, they give it to the locality to administer. And so both of these are coming to the Virginia Beach Development Authority, which will administer these grants. Item 12 was the award for the acoustical sheet metal company. And this is the first money that this isn't new money, I think, as Mr. Stiles said. This is that first money that they had received from the state.
This is the money for phase 2 that was discussed, I think, 18 months or so ago.
Right, and so this isn't a new grant. This is the one that they had used to begin with. And I think when you look at that acoustical sheet metal development, we see several different pots of money, some coming from the state, some from, I think, maybe from the federal, and then some from the local too. And it's been very confusing for people to try to figure out just what has built that facility. So I did want to mention this because I was concerned. The other one was the Zim American Shipping Company, also with a Commonwealth Opportunity Fund, and it will also be administered by the Development Authority.
Okay.
Okay, Worth?
Just a clarification, because we, the city, have to match the governor's or the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund as a clarification. And that most of the time comes with land, by the way.
Yeah.
That's our contribution is the land.
Usually is in kind.
Right, in kind.
Okay.
All right, is everybody okay with ordinance and resolutions? Do you have consent? Planning, Calco, District 2.
Fine, I'm sorry, I was looking at something else.
Okay, number 2, BHC, District 3, I think that's fine. I talked to Councilman Palucci earlier today. Number 3, DS Investors, District 5, I'm okay with that. Number 4, Winters Properties, Councilman Palucci said he was okay with that. Number 5, SMF Corporate Stores, District 6.
Consent, please.
Number 6, VEPCO, I'm going to be abstaining. Anybody, that's District 8, I guess it's okay. Number 7, Holly Weber, District 2.
Yes, they have been working very well with the community on that, so that one is good.
Number 8, April Smith, District 5. I haven't heard anything, so this will be fine. Number 9, Debbie's Daycare, District 6.
Consent, please.
Number 10, First Colonial Development, District 6.
Consent, please.
Number 11, Susan Black, District 6.
Consent, please.
District 6 day.
Ordinance to amend city code about hauling of sand, and that's everybody. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, everything's on consent. We have one speaker.
Okay.
Oops, I'm sorry, I haven't finished. 13, ordinance to amend city code section subdivision regulations on plans and specifications for general improvements. Everybody okay with that? 14 is ordinance to amend City Code Section 4 of the site plan for the Appendix C for formation regulation top site development plan. Everybody okay with that? 15, ordinance to recommend City Code Chapter 19 regarding mobile homes. 16 is the ordinance to amend City Code Section 5.9 of the erosion and stormwater management. We have a consent agenda.
Okay, here we go. The chair will entertain a motion to recess into a closed session pursuant to the exemptions for open meeting allowed by section 2.2, 3711A Code of Virginia as amended for the following purposes. Security matters, discussion of plans to protect public safety as it relates to terrorist activities or specific cybersecurity threats or vulnerabilities, and briefings by staff members, legal counsel, or law enforcement or emergency service officials concerning actions taken to respond to such matters or the related threat to the public safety. Where discussion in an open meeting would jeopardize the safety of a person, of the security of any facility, building structure, information, technology, systems, or software programs pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A19, and that is City Council cybersecurity briefing. Public contract, discussions award of public contract involving the expenditures of public funds and discussion for terms from terms of scope of such contract, and discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A29, and that is project repurpose. And publicly held property, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for public purpose or discussion of publicly held property where discussions in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A3, and that's in District 6. And finally, personnel matters, discussions, considerations, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining or resignation of public safety officers, appointees, or employees of public body pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A1, and the City Council appointments for boards, commissions, committees, authorities, agencies, and appointees, and also council employee evaluation. Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Belushi and comments are absent. Councilor Henley?
Aye.
Councilor Hutchinson?
Aye.
Councilor Jackson Reed?
Aye.
Councilor Remick?
Aye.
Councilor Ross Hammond?
Aye.
Councilor Burrell?
Aye.
Councilor Schulman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Dyer?
Aye.
9-0.
We are recessed into closed. Okay, welcome one, welcome all. I call this meeting to order. And if you are willing and able to stand for the invocation, I would appreciate it. Heavenly Father, you are always with us and beside us. Be with us this evening as we consider the affairs of our great city. Give us the patience to listen, the wisdom to decide, and the strength to act. Amen. And if I may ask for a moment of silence for all of those who have paid the ultimate price to save our city and our great nation. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have a roll call?
Yes, sir, all present excluding council members Berlucci and Cummings.
Okay, thank you. And may I have a motion for the certification of the closed session?
So moved.
Okey dokey.
The vote is open. Councilmember Hutchison and Vice Mayor Wilson, may I have your vote, please?
So we'll start on
Just give a verbal yea or nay.
Thank you.
Rosemary?
By a vote of 9-0, you have certified the closed session being in accordance with a motion to recess.
Okay, do we have minutes to, motion to approve the minutes of the informal and formal session of June 2nd, 2026, and the special formal session of June 9th, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Just 1 second. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties as well. So we're going to do a verbal vote, please.
Okay.
Just give me a whole sheet of them, I don't care. Councilmember Berlucci is absent, Councilmember Cummings is absent, Councilmember Henley?
Barbara? Verbal.
No, we're
No,
doing verbal
verbal.
votes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Hutchison?
Aye.
Stop. Councilmember Jackson Green?
Madam Clerk, last week I was not here.
Okay, so you'll abstain from the June 9th meeting, and do you
And-
vote aye for June 2nd?
And I vote aye for June 2nd.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Remick? Councilmember Ross Hammond?
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse?
Aye.
Councilmember Schulman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Dyer?
Aye.
By a vote of 9-0 for, you've approved the minutes for June 2nd, by a vote of 8-0 with Councilmember Jackson Green abstaining, you have approved the June 9th minutes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to public hearings. Number one, to modify the boundary of Special Service District, SSD, Old Donation Neighborhood Dredging.
There are no speakers.
Okay, the next one is acquisition by agreement or condemnation of Virginia Beach Boulevard Sidewalk Highway Safety Improvement, Project CIP 100423.025.
There are no speakers.
Okay, we do have speakers.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read the script for speakers then. I want to remind everyone that the City Council speaker policy that allows certain representatives of a group to speak for 10 minutes applies only to planning items. All other speakers, whether speaking individually or on behalf of the group, will have up to 3 minutes to speak on a single item. Speakers are reminded that comments during the formal session of the meeting must be limited to the subject of the item which is being considered by the council at the time you are called. For items spaced on the consent agenda, any speaker will have up to 3 minutes to address any single item. If a speaker wishes to address multiple consent items, speaker will have a cumulative total of 6 minutes to address those items. Again, the speaker must limit his or her comments to the subject matter of the items they have signed up to address. And finally, I call upon all speakers and all persons in the chamber to be civil in their discussion and decorum. Whatever views you hold and wish to express, the City Council wants to hear from you and to ensure that all viewpoints and all persons are respected. The best way to do this for all of us to strive for civility and respect. Okay.
So, Madam Clerk, so we have multiple speakers on J3 and K4 with one speaker on J8. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. So we have the one speaker for K4. So that can remain on consent. I can call them up.
Okay, so we just need to pull then
J3.
J3. And
Yes.
and then we'll hear from the other speakers first, and then we'll do the consent, correct?
Okay, yes. So Rodney Bradford. Is there Rodney Bradford? He's not responding, so you can move forward with the consent agenda.
Okay. Is it okay to do the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the speaker's not here.
All right. Under ordinance and resolutions, number 1 is the ordinance to amend the FY 2026-27 capital improvement program for stormwater rate Chatham Hall water quality improvement, CIP 100-566, and Southern Rivers Watershed, CIP 100-720. Number 2 is a resolution to renew permits to allow certain emergency medical services, EMS agencies to operate in the city. Ray American Medical Response, Mid-Atlantic Inc., Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters, Life Care Medical Transport Inc., MB Solutions LLC, Nightingale Regional Air Ambulance, Reliance Medical Transport, Robbie's Ambulance Service, and Special Event Providers of Emergency Medicine, Inc., and Tidewater Medical Transport, Inc. Number 4 is the ordinance to grant the franchise agreement to Pinky's LLC, Ray the pedal cab service in the resort area. Number 5 is the ordinance to readopt the policy remote participation by city council members in council meetings. Number 6 is the ordinance to appoint 3 reviewers for 1-year terms beginning July 1st, 2026 to view each street and alley proposed to be closed. Number 7 is the ordinance to extend the date for satisfying the conditions in the matter of Sterling Best Energy LLC, rate closure of approximately 29,601 square feet of an approved right-of-way known as Wendy Willow Court. Number 8 is the ordinance to authorize the Virginia Beach Development Authority, VBDA, to utilize up to $1.9 million of existing appropriations within CIP 1059 Resort Planning Parking District to fund the pre-development phase redevelopment of a structural public parking facility at 19th Street and Parks Avenue. And there are some amended term sheets. Number 9 is the ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments into city-owned property known as Treasure Canal in the rear of 2204 Windward Shore Drive, where they maintain an existing vinyl bulkhead, a return wall, wharf, overhead beam, boat lift with 4 piles and electrical cable, and to construct and to maintain a PWC lift, PWC electrical cable, gangway, floating dock, open-sided timber framed asphalt shingle roof, and 4 additional support piles, and that is in District 8, by the way. 10 is the ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments into a portion of city-owned property known as Bass Inlet, AKA Mill Pond and Mill Creek, and into a city-owned 5-foot drainage and utility easement at 344 Back Bay Crescent, where they maintain an existing vinyl bulkhead with returns and concrete patio, and to construct and maintain a timber floating pier and 2 personal watercraft floats, aluminum gangway, and timber pier, 4 timber pile aluminum boat lift, timber open residential roof structure, and 2 personal watercraft, and that lies in District 2. Number 12 is to ordinance to appropriate $240,000 from the sale of equipment to capital project 175 fire apparatus 4 within FY 25-26 capital improvement program, where the fund future fire apparatus. Number 12 is the ordinance to accept and appropriate $1.75 million from the Commonwealth Opportunity Grant Fund to the Virginia Beach Development Authority, reward for the acoustical sheet metal company project. Number 13 is the ordinance to accept and appropriate $1,497,300 from the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund to the Virginia for the Virginia Development Authority to award for Zim American Integrated Shipping and Company project. Number 14 is the ordinance to accept and appropriate funding totaling $429,709.60 from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority to the Health Department operating budget, $229,209.60 for a contract to 2 community engagement specialties to oversee a teen-to-teen social media company and provide outreach. Police Department operating budget, $530,000 rate, implement the law enforcement against drug program within Virginia Beach City Public Schools to provide drug education and prevention activities throughout the community. Human Services operating budget, $100,500. Rate continued full-time certified peer support specialist FTE to work with youth with substance use disorders to include operating expenses at Virginia Beach City Public Schools, operating budget, Virginia Beach City Public Schools. $70,000. Ray purchase an online evidence-based curriculum to provide proactive education as well as intervention from students have a substance abuse related offense.
That was a long one.
It was. 15 is the ordinance to accept and appropriate $18,714 from the Department of Community Criminal Justice throughout the Edward Byron Justice Assistance Grant Program to the FY 2026-27 Police Department operating budget, rate, law enforcement equipment. Number 16 is the ordinance to transfer $803,063 from vacancy savings to the general fund to the FY 25-26 voter registration and election system budget to operate normal operational expenses for the August 4th, 2026 primary elections. Number 17 is the ordinance to transfer $350,000 within the Department of Emergency Medical Services from the EMS Cost Recovery Fund to the FY 25-26 Department of Emergency Medical Services operating budget personnel expenses.
Open a public hearing on planning.
Number 1 is Kelco Incorporated for a variance to section 4.4B, and that is in District 2. BHC LLC, Philip H. Seaford, that is in District 3. Number 3 is DS Investors, Inc. and Virginia Corporation for a variance, and that is in District 5. Let's see, number Number 4 is Winters Properties LLC, and that is in District 3. Number 5 is SMF Corporate Stores LLC, and that is in District 6. Number 6 is Virginia Electrical and Power Company, and that is in District 8, and I will be abstaining on that. Number 7 is Holly Verber, and Daniel E. and Marilyn E. Verber, and that is in District 2. Number 8 is April A. Smith, and that is Gregory S. Smith and April A. Smith for conditional use permit, and that is in District 5. Number 9 is Debbie's Daycare, Deborah and Norton for a conditional use permit, and that is in District 6. Number 10 is First Colonial Development LLC for conditional use permit, and that is in District 6. Number 11 is Susan E. Black Merged Trust for a conditional use permit, and that is short-term rental in District 6. And number 12 is the ordinance to amend City Code Section 33-119, and that is not in the district. Number 13 is the ordinance to amend City Code Section 7.1. Number 14 is ordinance to amend City Code Section of the Site Plan Ordinance, Appendix C. Number 15 is the ordinance to amend City Council Chapter 19 regarding mobile homes. And the last one is 16 is the ordinance to amend City Council Section 5.9, Appendix D of the erosion and stormwater management. Move for approval.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. That worked good by a vote of 9-0, except for Councilman, including Vice Mayor Wilson's abstention. You have approved the consent agenda as read by Vice Mayor Wilson.
And thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I want to commend you for getting through all that, not feeling well, and you did a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we're going to go back to ordinances. Number 3, ordinance to endorse a proposed tourism project, authorize other actions consistent with the state tourism gap financing program at Hotel Indigo.
The first speaker is Lindell Stone. After Mr. Stone will be Holly Martier.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Dwyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, and members of council. My name is Lyndall Stone with Commonwealth Lodging on behalf of the development team. And I'm here in strong support of the ordinance endorsing the Hotel Indigo project at 2809 Atlantic Avenue. This project does exactly what the city's plans call for. The Resort Area Strategic Action Plan 2030 identifies a need for transitioning older hotels along the oceanfront to higher quality accommodations. That is precisely what this project delivers. It takes an aging oceanfront hotel and reinvests roughly $19 million of private capital to transform it into a Hotel Indigo, an upper upscale, nationally branded property that elevates the resort area and supports the year-round visitation that the plan prioritizes. I want to be clear about what's being asked of the city tonight because the structure matters. The developer is carrying 100% of the cost through private debt and equity, and the developer remains responsible for repaying and servicing this debt, including if the project does not perform as projected. There is no recourse to the city, the authority, or the Commonwealth, but this investment would not be possible without the support of the Tourism Development Financing Program. The city's participation is repaid solely from 1% of the new sales and use tax this project itself generates, revenue that does not exist today and would not exist but for this investment, and no obligation beyond what is appropriated. TDFP, or the Tourism Development Financing Program, is entirely performance-driven and requires no upfront capital from the city. In return, the city gains a higher quality oceanfront hotel, roughly $10 million in new annual taxable sales, and approximately 45 year-round jobs, rising to about 75 in peak season. I'd like to thank Emily Archer with the Virginia Beach Economic Development Authority for her support throughout this process, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thanks a bunch.
The next speaker is Holly Martier. And after Ms. Martier is Venkat Elaswapru.
Good evening.
Good evening. I don't have much to say. I just want to know with this project, is it going to cost us any extra money? Like, are you going to tax the citizens of Virginia Beach any extra? Or are we just, I just need to know how it's being paid for. Can anyone answer?
Yeah, Ward.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good question, because a lot of taxpayers, citizens around the city have asked that question. It is no out-of-pocket money from the city of Virginia Beach at all, nor the state of Virginia. It's generated through new income, sales tax, and the increase in the taxes is what pays for this.
All right, so we won't be taxed anymore.
Right, and we'll be making more money through more additional revenue generated from the project.
So then you can lower the real estate taxes once you start
We'll
making
definitely
money.
consider that.
Please, because I
Meals
can't
tax too.
afford that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Venkat Elaswapru.
Good evening. I fail to understand how this proposed Hotel Indigo is a good deal for the taxpayers of Virginia Beach. Let us unpack this deal, at least the way I understand it. The city/VBDA will provide a $5 million loan to this private developer building this luxury hotel. This so-called loan is repaid from the expected annual sales revenue of $15 million. The city will forego its share of one person's sales tax revenue of $150,000 annually. Similarly, the state will forego one person's sales tax revenue. In effect, the developer will only repay $150,000 each year. That means $300,000 quote-unquote loan repayment comes from the foregone sales tax revenue from the city and the state. This foregone tax revenue is used for the loan repayment. In simple terms, the VBDA grants $5 million now, and the city never gets anything in sales tax revenue from this high-end hotel. Put another way, the city currently gets 1% of $5 million in sales tax revenue from the existing hotel, but will get 0% of the $15 million sales revenue from the new upscale hotel. To add insult to injury, the city will give $5 million of taxpayers' money to the developers to renovate the hotel as a quote-unquote loan. Can someone please explain to me how this is a good deal for the taxpayers?
Mayor, that's all the speakers.
Okay, do we have a motion? Yeah.
Move for approval and have a comment.
Okay.
Second.
Second, we have okay, work.
So just to reiterate what I just said, so the VBDA is not making a loan, the city of Virginia Beach is not making a loan, nor is the state of Virginia, Commonwealth of Virginia. It is $5 million. It is future tax increase that's paying the loan back. So this will get additional tax increases, additional sales tax increases. So we'll be making money without any money out of pocket. So I'll move for approval.
Okay, anybody else? Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. By a vote of 9-0, you've approved the resolution.
Okay, now we're going to move over to the planning item, and that was number 2, BHC LLC.
Sir, Mayor, that was approved on consent.
Oh, okay, that was, okay.
We already passed it.
Oh, we're all done? Okay, I guess we're all done.
Appointments. And Vice Mayor, before you begin appointments, because we're having technical difficulties with broadcast, if each of you, before you adjourn, Mayor, can mute your mics, that will be helpful to our broadcast team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then we have appointments.
We have appointments.
You are a trooper hanging in there.
I know, just see. Okay. Arts and Humanities, we want to appoint Kimberly Hammer. The Clean Community, we want to appoint Alethea Graves. She's a high school student. The COG Review Committee, we want to appoint Steve Rockefeller.
the flood prevention bond referendum. Oversight Board, Sophia Richardson is a high school student. Human Rights Commission to appoint Liam Whitehead, high school student, and Quinn Cow, high school student. Parks and Recreation Commission to appoint Alexander Moore, high school student. Public Library Board, appoint Randall Need, high school student. Resort Advisory Commission to appoint Daniela Andriades, high school student, and Isabella Thompson, high school student. Tidewater Community College Board to appoint Dr. Tamika Singletary Johnson, and the Transition Area Interim Facility Traffic to appoint Ryan Blake, a high school student, and the Virginia Beach Towing and Advisory Board to appoint Parkerson Haig as a citizen. Move to approve.
Okay.
Anybody want to second it?
The vote is open. Are you abstaining? Are you abstaining on the Tidewater one? Okay. The vote is open. You just vote yes, and then you can just do a verbal abstention for that one. By a vote, I'm sorry, Councilmember Schulman, may I have your vote? Thank you. Close it. By a vote of 9-0, you have appointed those read by Vice Mayor Wilson.
Okay, thank you all.
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
1 second.
Just briefly, on the TCC board, I'm abstaining from that vote.
Perfect, thank you. We'll note that in the minutes. And again, if before you adjourn, Mayor, if everybody can mute their mics, that will be helpful to the broadcast team.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, is there any unfinished business?
Vice Mayor, mic is on.
Any new business? Okay, thank you all. We are adjourned.